a man who has lost all his money to buy a ticket to prison because the prison food is all top quality food, all prepared by 5-star chefs. On this day, after double-checking, the man signed the contract without hesitation, but the moment he put pen to paper, he was knocked out. When he opened his eyes, he was already in prison. Beside him was a kindly old man. When he was still puzzled, the old man suddenly grabbed a pillow and knelt down by the hallway. The next moment an alarm sounded. A station covered with food fell from the sky. The old man immediately jumped on it and began to devour it. Xiao Shuai looked at this table of food and froze. This is not 5-star food. It's just leftover rubbish. Seeing the old man eating so much food, he couldn't help but feel sick to his stomach. But the old man didn't care at all. Instead, he urged him to eat with him. He knew there was only one meal a day. Xiao Shuai thought about it, but in the end, he picked out a cleaner apple from the table. Soon a minute passed. The platform began to descend. The old man also threw the wine in his hand and threw it down. Then he spat on it. Xiao Shuai thought he was a bit immoral. How can you let the people downstairs eat like this?
Para que se lo coman los de abajo.
Then he lay down on the bed and prepared to sleep. Suddenly the temperature in the prison rose. The old man explained, "The food only belongs to you when it's on the current floor. It belongs to you only when it's on the current floor. If you steal the food, the temperature will continue to rise until we burn to death." Hearing that, Handsome could only throw the apple down happily. The next day came soon. The platform was once again lowered. Seeing that Xiao Shuai was still unmoved, the old man scolded him. "He doesn't deserve to be on this floor. Now it's the 48th floor. It's not bad at all. There's still food. If you live down here, you wouldn't even be able to eat." Then he said he was on the 132nd floor last month. That's when he was really suffering. Handsome got interested. "I can imagine. How could there be food on that floor?" Curious to know, how did he survive? The old man did not answer. He took out a shiny army knife. It turns out, the prison makes everyone who comes in to bring any one thing. Handsome chose a book to kill time, and the old man chose a knife. Then the old man explained, "Every day in prison, people, they can't stand it and choose to kill themselves. That day, someone happened to fall on his floor, so soon a new day came. Xiao Shuai was already hungry. He ate straight away. He has begun to adapt to the situation on the 48th floor. Time passed little by little. This day the platform was falling as usual, but the difference is that on top, there was a woman sitting on it. Handsome was baffled. What was going on? But the old man was calm. He said he knew this woman. Once a month he has to ride the platform to find his daughter. Soon the platform continued to descend. The two men on the 49th floor saw a woman. Can't help but be beastly. They hurriedly dragged him off the platform and prepared to rape him. Handsome wanted to help, but the gap between the two floors was too high. He was a bit scared. While he was still hesitating, with a scream, the woman walked up to the platform by herself. Obviously the two people downstairs have been killed. That night, Xiao Shuai was about to go to sleep, but the old man suddenly began to say some strange things. Before Xiao Shuai could figure it out, he was dazed. When he opened his eyes again, he was on a new floor, and he was tied to the bed. The man opened his eyes. He's tied to the bed. The roommate came over with a sharp knife, trying to calm him down. He looked up and saw that they were on the 171st floor.
Y en esos casos, es mejor comer que ser comido.
The old man's words sent chills down the spine of Xiao Shuai, but he's tied up and can't do anything about it. In the middle of the conversation, the platform came down. As the old man said, there was nothing. Xiao Shuai tried to persuade him to drink water to satisfy his hunger, but the old man was obviously not listening. He'll be out of prison in 2 months. In order to get out, he had to stay alive. Then he said he wouldn't kill Shuai, because when a person dies, maggots will grow. The meat would be inedible. That's why he only cuts a little bit at a time. These words made Handsome's head spin, but all he could do was beg for food from above. The day came. The old man couldn't hold back his hunger. He started to cut the meat. Handsome was screaming in pain. Just as the old man showed him the thigh meat, he was suddenly knocked down. It's the woman who came to look for the child. She grabbed the knife and untied him, and when he saw he could move, he got up and killed the old man like a madman. But the next moment he was shocked. The woman started to eat the old man's flesh. Then he slowly descended on the platform. Although he has adapted to the life here, but Xiao Shuai couldn't. He couldn't accept eating human flesh. In the end, He gave in. Time passed little by little. Xiao Shuai successfully survived this month. When he woke up again, it was already the 33rd floor. His new roommate is a woman, the administrator who officially admitted him to the prison. The administrator said there are 200 floors here, as long as everyone eats a little bit. Spontaneous solidarity. No one will go hungry. If this is the newcomer Xiao Shuai, he would have agreed with this statement. But after last month, he's seen people eat people. He's lost all hope. Change is never. It won't happen on its own. Now he just hopes he can get out. Soon the food came down. The caretaker actually ate only a little and sorted the food. He persuaded the lower levels to eat less and leave some for those below. But all he got in return was a lot of abuse. Soon the platform came down again. The woman was still lying on top, but she seemed to be sick and in a coma. Seeing this situation, Xiao Shuai and the administrator quickly moved him to the bed to help him. That night, Xiao Shuai woke up in a daze. He was woken up by the woman and the caretaker fighting. Looking at the two men, Xiao Shuai rushed over to break up the fight. It turned out that the woman was too hungry. She ate the caretaker's dog. The next day, the woman continued down the platform, but the caretaker was no longer in good spirits. He slowly told the truth about why he came here. He had cancer. He wanted to try out the prison he'd overseen for 25 years, to see if he could get the inmates to change. But before he could even begin, he suffered from despair. That day, a new month came. When Handsome opened his eyes again, he was on the 202nd floor. The superintendent was devastated. He hanged himself in despair. Xiao Shuai stood up and looked down. This prison is still endless. Obviously, even the internal staff don't know much about it. Soon the platform is once again falling. Looking at the empty plates, Handsome knew he had to rely on his roommate to survive. He wanted to refuse. In the end, he gave in once again. This prison feeds its inmates top-quality food. Abalone, lobster, king crab, anything you want, but whether or not you can eat it depends on the floor you're on. This is the 5th month that Shuai has been in prison. He's lucky to be on the 6th floor this time. It looks like he won't have to worry about food anymore. His new roommate is a black guy. His item of choice is a bundle of rope. On the first day of the month, he begged the two men on the 5th floor to pull him up. He thought that once he got to the ground floor, he thought if he got to the 1st floor, he might be able to get out of here. But as he was about to climb up, the 5th floor people suddenly let go. If it wasn't for Xiao Shuai holding him in his arms, he would have been crushed to pieces. Seeing that the people on the 5th floor didn't help, Blackie was desperate. He couldn't get out this time. He may never have the chance again. He's so close to the ground floor. Seeing him so dejected, Xiao Shuai proposed his own idea. If we can leave a piece of food on the bottom floor, maybe it will break the prison mechanism, so that we can have a chance to escape. At the same time, it's also a kind of silent protest. When Blackie heard that, he was instantly interested. He didn't want to live like this anymore. So the two of them grabbed their weapons and jumped onto the platform together, ready to go down with him. Watching their actions, the people on the upper floors couldn't help but they began to laugh at their stupidity. The plan went well at first. There wasn't much resistance until the 50th floor, because they were always fed. But that soon changed. As the floors got lower and lower, the people at the bottom got hungrier and hungrier. They became more and more brutal. Some were young and strong, ready to eat their older inmates. Others just don't care, straight to the food. But more than that, they were already dead. Xiao Shuai continued to go down, accidentally saw the woman who saved his life before was being brutally killed by two big men. He was furious and rushed up to avenge her death. Handsome was also seriously injured as a result. Finally, they came to the 333rd floor of the prison. They still have a piece of jelly in their hands. As long as they get the jelly up there, it's a success. The plan was a success. Unexpectedly, there was a little girl on this floor. This must be that woman's child. Looking at her poor face, the two of them finally had a soft heart. They gave him food. The next day came quickly and Blackie died of blood loss. Xiao Shuai decided to put the child on the platform, let him go back to the top and walk into the darkness himself. At the end of the story, was the little girl real or not? Did the signal get through? We have no way of knowing. Maybe the parfait did make it to level 0, but the people in the pit gave to this plate of custard, to this dish of custard,